working on solving the problem that is how do you sell art or photography by best leveraging marketing and digital marketing in particular. And it's an interesting problem to work on. There's not that many, you know, art marketing agencies, for instance, right? Because it's a very, very hard problem to solve. Selling art and photography is not like selling every other item out there. A lot of tradecraft, a lot of nuance to it. In addition to that, I've been running 3 of these sessions since a little bit before the pandemic. So, year and a couple of months now. I don't believe that there's another human being on the planet that talks to more artists and photographers on a week in, week out basis. I have now at this point heard it all, seen it all, you know, niche selection, pricing, sales, Facebook ads, branding, how to negotiate with the galleries, pricing, markup. I have heard and been through all of it over the last year. And in addition to that, we have like a little bit over 5,500 customers now. And one of the things that we do a great deal of is studying the ones that sell the best and studying quite in depth. For instance, who's capturing the most emails? How are they doing that? Excuse me. Who is the best on Facebook? Who's the best on Instagram? What are they posting? What kind of activity are they getting there? Who is selling the most art, period? Who is selling the most classes? Who is selling the most originals? Who's selling the most commissions? Metal prints, canvas prints. And you do all of that collectively. And why am I bringing all of this up? I think I can help you. I think today's Q&A after I'm done with the presentation can be insanely valuable. I think if you're struggling with something, I probably have a solution that can put you on the path. And I mean that in the biggest non-sales pitch way ever. I don't care if you ever do business with art storefronts, if you ever become a customer. I want the session to be valuable. I want to try to get you on a path to growing your art business to where you want it to be. I honestly believe that I can help you. So the Q&A will happen sort of after the presentation, and love for you to think about whatever questions you have, whether you've never sold your art before and you're just trying to get into it, whether you had robust sales pre-pandemic and the pandemic crushed you, whether you're struggling with a question of niche selection, what style should you be doing, or you're struggling with, how to price your work, or you're struggling with how to get attention to your work, which, let's be honest, 100% of you guys are struggling with that. Every single solitary artist and photographer is struggling with that. But point being, have your questions ready, and we'll get into the Q&A after the fact. But I want to start with sort of this new concept that I've come up with, and I call it the art selling pyramid, okay? And I sort of stole it from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you've seen this pyramid, right? But in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, um, you've got the physiological needs at the bottom, right? And the concept of the pyramid is you have to sort the blocks on the bottom before you can even contemplate sorting the blocks on the top. And the physiological needs are first, right? We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to do that daily. That has to happen every single solitary day before we can even contemplate working on safety and shelter and money. And then you go up the thing, and it's love and belonging and esteem and self-actualization. You can become a great person and all of that jazz. So let me give you the art selling pyramid, okay? Borrowed from Maslow. Same thing, pyramid, got to sort the bottom blocks, up we move. And the bottom block, the first block, is attention. And I know, without equivocation, that every single solitary person on this Zoom call has an attention problem. What is attention? It is the eyeballs that you need to be able to sell your work. It is people knowing who you are, seeing your work, interacting with you. And we live in a, in a world right now where attention is the currency of the land. It's not dollars, it's attention. You have the attention, you can do anything. Without it, you're not in the game. Does the best art that's being created get sold? No. The best art that's being created that gets seen gets sold. And attention is every single solitary one of our problems. And just like in Maslow's pyramid, you have to sort it daily. You have to be working on getting more of it daily. It is no different than eating and sleeping. And I look at this little pyramid, and a perfect way for me to explain it. Do you know who some of the most powerful women, not just in the United States, are, but in the entire world are? It's the Kardashians. You want to know why? They have attention, okay? Any one of those women, any of those surgically enhanced women, could decide to start painting stick figures tomorrow and sell $35 million worth of art in the first year. Why? Because they have attention, okay? They understood what the currency of the land is. When you have the attention, you can do anything. Attention comes in 2 forms, rented and owned. Rented are YouTube subscribers and Instagram fans and Facebook followers, any social media followers you have on any of those sites. Why is it rented? It's rented because you don't own it. They can change the rules at any time. Still very important, but it's rented. The other kind of attention, the owned attention, really email addresses most importantly. Secondarily, snail mail. And for some people that do text message marketing, it's phone numbers. But you have to work on building your attention day in, day out. It is a quotidian job. And ultimately, it's the biggest problem that every single solitary one of you on here have. Some of you think you have a website problem. Some of you think you have a pricing problem. Some of you think you have a problem negotiating with galleries. You can't even have any of those problems until you solve the attention problem. The attention problem is the whole ball game. And when you understand it, you start getting intentional. You start working at it. It is no different than eating and sleeping. What did you do to acquire more attention for your work today? If you're not working on that, then you can't even have any of the other problems. Next block, okay, after we solve the attention situation, we're working on it. It's a constant battle. It never ends. The outside of this block is number 1 and 2 here, and then I'm going to get into the block. Number 1 is the business model, okay? I believe that an artist or a photographer, if they want to build a successful business, has to understand the business model. The business model is selling direct, by which I mean you, the artist, the photographer, selling directly to your end customer. You retain the data on your end customer such that you are able to market to that customer in perpetuity. Many people, the way that the industry worked traditionally forever, it was people that did not retain this information. They sold through galleries, or maybe they did the show in their circuit, but they weren't the best at keeping up with these people and marketing to them in perpetuity. I got this book that I cite all the time, and it's by Weiland. Weiland is the whale guy, okay? And don't worry, I'm going to send you links to this. But he wrote this book. He sells it directly on his website. He's depending on who you talk to, he's the #1 selling artist in the entire United States, probably even the world, to be honest with you, because of his business model and what he's done. And he talks in that book about this concept called a collector list, okay? And for Weiland, a collector list are buyers of his art that buy in upwards of 7+ pieces over the course of a lifetime. And he treats this collector list like VIP. His collectors might as well be staying in the Four Seasons. He reaches out. He gives them special access to things. He likes their social media posts, and he continues to build that list, okay? And fundamentally, it is one of the single solitary most important things any art or photography business can have. Collectors surface, you market to them in perpetuity, your prices continue to go up, they go along for the ride. Some of these people will buy in upwards of 20 and 30 and 40 pieces throughout the course of your life. And if you are not building that list, it's sort of like you're working a job and you're not putting any money away in a retirement account. It's almost like a 401k that just pays every single solitary year. And I can go into some detailed examples, but the goal is you come out with a new series. You have a show, right? Whether it's a photographic series or it's the series that you painted. You'll start out, and your collector list will maybe buy 2% of the show or 5% of the show. And your goal is just to build that list such that the percentage of the work that they buy goes up and up and up. And I've seen customers that I've worked with recently where 40 to 50% of the show is bought before anyone even sees it by their collectors, just gone. So you created 20 pieces, 10 are gone instantaneously because you have been cultivating a collector list, because you understand the business model, okay? And it is, I mean, we're going to get into it, but it is so fundamental. And I've been doing this for a long time now, okay? I've talked to a lot of people, and it breaks my damn heart because on a regular basis, people are coming on these calls, okay? And they're in their late 40s, late 50s, late 60s, late 70s. They are at the top of their game. They have honed their craft to the greatest it's ever going to be. And guess what? They didn't understand the business model. And guess what? They didn't keep a collector list. And so guess what? The pandemic hit, and all their offline revenue sources, poof, are gone. And they're coming on this call, and they're going, Patrick, and this is how I envisioned it. They had the corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, the giant executive desk, the big leather chair. And I'm telling them, I'm sorry, you're out of there, and you have to go back to the mailroom, and you're pushing the cart because you did not cultivate this list, okay? You did not keep a collector list. You did not work on your marketing. You did not understand the business model. What do you have now? You have nothing. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Wait the pandemic out? Like half the galleries are closed. The ones that are still open are renegotiating the split from 50-50 to 60-40 because they have 100 different artists that they want to pick from. Go back on the show and their circuit. That's wonderful. That does not pay if it's not at 100% attendance. How long is it going to take for the show and theater circuit to get back to 100% attendance? We don't know, but it's not going to be instantaneous, right? So, really, really passionate about the business model. Really, really passionate about the collector list. I think the minute you understand that, boy, are you in a great place. Boy, are you in a great place. You're building it. It takes time. Okay, that's the outer shell. The inside of the block, 3 ways to sell art. There are 3 ways to sell art, okay? Every single solitary artist, my argument, and photographer needs to understand the 3 ways to sell art and needs to be applying them in their business. Number 1, best way to sell art. Trick question of sorts. Everyone knows the best way to sell art. It's in person, face to face. It always has been. It always will be, okay? In person, face to face is the best way to sell art. Anytime you have the ability to sell art that way, you do that. Problem, we are all of us geographically fixed on this planet. We all have to sleep. We can't have 15 conversations at once. So the third way to sell art, and I say third because it's the least important, is via your website. You absolutely have to have a website. The website solves for these problems when you're asleep, 15 people at a time, and for many of the geographic problems. The second way to sell art, okay, the newest way to sell art, the one the entire art selling world is trying to figure out right now, the greatest advancement in selling art since forever is exactly what we're doing right now. It is selling art via live video in either a one-to-one fashion or a one-to-many fashion. A one-to-one fashion, I go to Antonio's website. Antonio, these pieces are very interesting. What is that one behind you? I would like to buy it. Can we talk about it? Antonio goes, Patrick, no problem. Let me set up a Zoom call with you. I'll show you a couple of pieces, and we can talk about it. I can get to know you. That is the one-to-one fashion. The one-to-many fashion, okay, which is mega interesting as well, is this concept of a live art show, okay? And what am I doing? There we go. So I have a couple examples of this I'm going to show. This is a painter in his garage studio. He has some works that he's trying to sell. He is streaming this to Instagram. He is streaming this to Facebook. He's streaming it to YouTube. He is holding the works up. He's talking about them. People can leave comments. They can purchase them. This is one particular type of these sales. This is a customer and a good friend of ours named Matthew Locke. We've run a number of these different initiatives with him. In addition, okay, to this concept of doing it in your studio, what happens if you have an actual show? He had an actual show in the middle of the pandemic. Now, attendance was limited. A bunch of people couldn't travel, so the attendance of the show was light. He still sold a bunch of stuff. The day after the show, what do? We turn the cameras on. He grabs a glass of wine, wears this ridiculous sleeveless shirt. I always make fun of him for the sleeveless shirts. I can't help it. I think it's funny. And what is he doing? He's walking through the show, and you notice people are leaving comments. We're highlighting the comments. He's walking through the show. He's explaining each of the pieces, okay? So my point in showing this is the new, and I've got another one here too. I can rattle through so many examples. This is crazy, but this is absolutely the future of selling art. It is the next best way. And when we contemplate, let me mute this, but I'll just give you something to stare at while I rant here. You know, if selling art in person, face to face, is the best way to sell art, then okay, everything that we do digitally tries to get as close as possible to that, okay? And what would be the ideal way to sell art? Let's just say it's an art gallery that you have, that you own in your hometown, okay? People can come in, they can know you, have a conversation, they can buy the art. For all the people that can't geographically do that, the next best way is this via live video. Again, one-to-one or one-to-many, a group show, right? And it's so close to the real thing, it's amazing. You don't have to leave your hometown. They get to know you. They get to interact with you. They feel like they have a bond with the artist. It is the future, full stop. And what's interesting is the entire world is trying to figure this out right now, okay? The entire art selling world is trying to figure it out. Your industry doesn't have a lot of reports. There's 2 big ones, okay? There is the Art Market 2021 report. They do one of these each year. It's from Art Basel and UBS. I'm going to send you links to the report. I want you to read it. It's amazing. It's incredible. The disclaimer on it is these guys report on the top 1% of the art selling market, right? Like the highest of the high end. The top auction houses in Christie's, the top auction houses and the top art selling dealers and the top galleries and stuff. But the report is still very, very relevant, okay? And the link we'll send you. You can download the entire report, which I recommend you do. I think you'll find it really insightful. But they have these key findings too, which is like this snazzy little web page they built to talk about it. And so I can go in here, I can explore this thing. They've got some lovely little graphs. But you read this report, and what they call it, and I'll quote, Chapter 5 looks at the online art market and the rapid evolution in sales in 2021. The chapter shows how the dealer sector shifted sales online in 2020 and the development of online viewing rooms, OVRs. You know what online viewing rooms are? A snooty way to talk about a Zoom call, okay? A snooty way to talk about exactly what we are doing right here, right now. So this is the future of how to sell art in an incredible fashion. I always feel like a bit of a Yahoo to share numbers, but I'm going to share numbers because it's going to give this whole entire thing some teeth, okay? So Matthew Laka, longtime customer, great friend, normally does the full dog and pony gallery shows. In the middle, so this was on June 9th, 2020, he did 2 of these over a 15-day period. He sold 62 pieces for a little bit over $30,000 Canadian. From his basement, no 50-50 split, direct, didn't have to leave. This is his garage studio. It's where he paints. Didn't even leave his living room. This gal, Meg, also a customer, she was moving studios, legitimately moving studios from one studio to another. This was about a month ago that we ran this. And, you know, just to underscore my collector list, okay? This particular sale was teased on a Friday. On Monday, she emailed her collector list. Her collector list bought 46% of the show. She sold a little bit less than, I think, 76 different pieces for $15,000. Now, the pieces in this particular show were like the color studies, right? They weren't like the full buttoned up pieces. I'm trying to get to one where she's actually holding one. You know, there were color studies, there were sketches, there were smaller works, right? You know, stuff that was just involved in it. But the point is, this is absolutely the future. It is such an incredible way to sell art and photography. The entire world is trying to figure it out. You know, you get people using various different, you know, at the snooty end, it's OVRs, online viewing rooms, or the art fairs and shows that are trying to keep the booth deposits. What's their line that they love? We're going to have a virtual art show, right? Everyone is trying to figure this out right now. I do not know what floor this particular elevator is going to go to. My guess is it's going to go very high. What I'm saying is right now, this elevator is on the ground floor and the doors haven't even closed yet. The whole world's trying to figure this out. And there is so much tradecraft to it, I can't even begin to tell you. You know, this particular Zoom call, I have all you guys in a Zoom call right now, right? This is also being streamed to 2 YouTube channels, to a Facebook channel, to Twitter, all at once, all simultaneously. Everyone is trying to figure this out, and it is the most effective way to sell art, period. And so step 1 is becoming aware of it. Step 2 is starting to practice it and put it into practice. And I guarantee there's probably not a single solitary person on this call that is doing it. And, you know, people ask, what is it that you do at Art Storefronts? We teach our customers how to sell art and photography in the most advanced way as possible. And because I don't care, 90%, I tell people these things, 90% of the people will never, ever even do it. So I don't even care to give away the tradecraft. I'll give away the tradecraft right now. So my sleeveless associate here, Matthew, is using wireless Apple AirPods connected to his iPhone, which has this stream going out live on Instagram. We are leveraging software that is streaming it, that's putting in this little title here, right? And his logo, and you know, the banner at the bottom to inquire, and it's pulling the comments in. So cell phone, earpods connected to Instagram on the phone, laptop, computer, Facebook, personal Facebook, YouTube account, all of that goes down all at once simultaneously. And you can see there's numbers here. If the number 2 thing goes away, he's even got little numbers here. Why? Because the people on Instagram can't see the graphics that we have on the screen. And so they need to know, okay, was that number 2 or number 3? You can't really see it, but it's like right behind here. There's like a little thing. Yeah, there it is. See, number 5. And we're on number 5. So everyone knows. There's a million little things like that. What is the best combination of the technology? How do you announce it? What do you do during the course? And don't worry, I'm going to send you guys, I'm going to send you these shows after the fact so you can watch them and pick up what you like. But this is absolutely the future, you guys, and it is completely changing the game, and you don't need to leave your house, and there are no booth fees, and there's no loading up the car and driving somewhere and staying in some crappy hotel and eating crappy food and then hoping you're going to see an ROI. There is no limit to the amount that you can run. It is the most beneficial use, highest ROI use of an artist or photographer's time I could even imagine right now. It's not even close. And again, whole world's trying to figure it out. So those are the 3 ways to sell art. I got to get back to my pyramid. You have to be running all 3, and you have to be doing all 3 consistently all year long. So we start by constantly gathering attention. We start by recognizing the business model, collector list, as well as the 3 ways to sell art. Then we get to the top of the pyramid, which is everything else. What do I mean, everything else? You have a brick and mortar gallery that's working out for you, that's bringing in revenue to your business. Fantastic. We love revenue. I have never met a revenue source I don't like. Keep it going. But it's in addition, okay, not in lieu of working on attention, not in lieu of working on the 3 ways to sell art and building your own collector list. What if it's an online gallery? Maybe it's Saatchi or Fine Art America or Redbubble or Etsy or any of the others. Is it bringing in revenue? Fantastic. I've never met a revenue source I don't like, but it's in addition to everything else, okay? It's in addition to getting your own attention. It's in addition to the 3 ways of selling art. So too, if you're doing the show and thayer circuit, we love the show and thayer circuit. It's fantastic. I can't wait for it to come back. It is a great way to build attention, but it's in addition to those 2. You understand this pyramid, okay? You start working on this pyramid, and you are going to be on the path towards building a successful art or photography business. You don't, and you don't control the rules. You do not control the stakes. You can have the rug ripped out from underneath you at any point in time, which I've seen again and again and again on these calls. And you know, one of the things that no one talks about, okay, and does not get mentioned enough. 3 of these a week for a year and a half, okay? It's not hyperbole. That many of them. Every single solitary week, there are people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and I would say once every 2 weeks, somebody in their 90s comes in on these calls asking questions. And so why do I bring that up? Understand the perspective of how long you guys are going to be artists and photographers selling your art or photography, okay? You guys don't go through midlife crises. Doesn't happen to creatives. You don't decide all of a sudden you're going to stop being a painter and you're going to go rent jet skis in Florida for the summer and that's going to be your job, okay? So when you have the perspective figured out that you are going to be working at this for the rest of your life into your 90s in many cases, it underscores how important it is to understand this pyramid, to start working on this pyramid. And guess what? It's not going to be easy at first if you're just getting started. It's going to be a pain in the butt. You know, I'm looking at Rick there, and Rick, if you have not been building that list the entire time, when I'm telling you, you have to learn how to email market and social media market, and you need to start doing it on a regular basis, that could be frustrating, but it's not frustrating when you got another 25 years of growth in this doggone business. So what does Art Storefronts do at the end of the day? We teach you how to do the pyramid. Yeah, we give you a website, and yeah, we put you into a university where there's no graduates because the learning never stops. That's really, in a nutshell, who we are, what we do. All right. Oh, I gotta get this thing out of the way. Just as a final, because I am so doggone fascinated by these advancements that are taking place right now in this whole live streaming, live art show, live video commerce. They're still trying to come up with like the keyword for what it's going to be. And hold on, I'm going to get a screen share up so I can show you guys this. Hold on. So it'll just take me a second. You know, this is another one of these things that for a number of different reasons, China is just eating our lunch on. They're like the pioneers, if you will, of it. But let me just show you this. Can I get this up? Let's see. This is from November 9th, so yesterday. 2 Chinese streamers sold $3 billion of product in a day. In a day. That's almost Twitter's revenue for an entire year. Here's how they did it. And it like breaks through how they did it. And, you know, the guy's like a mega influencer. Calls himself like I don't even know what he calls himself. It doesn't even matter. But the point is that this live art show concept, this video enabled commerce concept utterly, totally, and completely shifts the balance of power of how things can potentially be sold online. And it works better for certain products than it does others. And it just so happens that for art and photography, it works out fantastically. More so if you have merch or other items in your offerings as well. And I mean, we just see more and more and more and more good news at every turn. At every turn, it is such a fundamental game changer. Um, one of the primary things that we're developing in terms of features is how to make these shows easier, how to make them more effective, how to better handle things like pricing and shipping and setting up the page and what to do before the show, during the show, after the show to get the most ROI out of it. We have as many customers as we can, and I get it. It's a little terrifying to be on video, especially for the first time. I mean, I hate being on video, so I understand all the fears. Trust me, let alone the tech fears and just the sheer terror of public speaking and all the rest of it. But man, when you crash through that first couple of times and you're like, I can do this, you're immediately greeted with the fact that it is so insanely effective at selling art and photography. I cannot even begin to tell you. And, especially on your first couple, you're totally going to screw up and have like big issues. And I've been showing this example now, husband and wife photographer team. And this is one of our newest product offerings. When I say product offering, it's just it's you sign up, you get a website, and you can deploy these pages, and it's a live art show page. And you'll notice there's nothing at the top. There's a logo, which is your logo. You title the show. There's a place for the show to go. Okay. And then there's the prints underneath, or the originals underneath, whatever it is you're selling. And they all sort of look the same. They're all mega simple, right? And we can get into a couple of the examples. But, the first one you run is so terrifying. And I love this husband and wife combo so much. Because they're fantastic on camera together. But this is the very first one that they did, and you can see like he wired his wife up with a lavalier mic, right? So it's like a wireless lavalier, and you can see she's not here. She left to go take a phone call, and he forgot that she was wired in, and she forgot. So there they are in the live art show, and she's having a phone call in the background while he's talking. It's one of the funniest things. But these shows are just amazing. They're just, it is the single solitary biggest advancement in how art and photography is going to be sold, and especially over the coming years and decades, that, just me being passionate about it and you hearing the passion in my voice, I'm hoping I at least switch you onto it. And if you never knew, now you know. You can start studying them. Obviously, we'll send you some examples, but we are going into the deep end in terms of the feature advancement and the various different playbooks on how best to run them in the coming weeks and years. So I don't know why I went on that rant, but yeah, those Chinese results are insane. Who knows if they're telling completely the truth, but that guy obviously sold a ton, which is amazing. But anyway, let's open it up for the Q&A. How does the Q&A go? If some brave ones turn their cameras on and you have a question, all you have to do is just hold your hand up and I'll see that and I can respond to those questions. Or I can unmute you. For everyone else, if you look at the bottom of your Zoom bar, there's like this little reaction smiley face and there's a plus button there. And so you can just click that and it gives you the ability to digitally raise your hand. You can see that in the participants window. I just digitally raised my hand. And so I'll know you have a question and I can unmute you. And talk to you. And, if you don't want to be on video and you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to turn your camera on, okay? I hate being on video, as I said, so I totally understand that as well. If you've got questions and you throw them in the chat, I can answer the questions in the chat. If you're one of the ones that's watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, I can see your questions as well, and we can bring those into the stream. So, yeah, that's where we go. And Karen, you're the only brave one right now with the camera on. So do you want to kick us off, Karen? Do you have a question for us? I'm going to unmute you. Otherwise, I'll go to Rita. She's got one. You'll have to hit the mic icon, Karen. It's in the bottom left-hand corner. Yep, gotcha.
I do. Unfortunately, I do a fair amount of Zoom calls. So being on camera is just being in the right room.
So it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle hazard of all of us these days.
Crap in the background.
Everyone's got crap in the background.
I know. So I looked at your website, and one of the things that I found interesting is that it's not swamped by a lot of artists. And I'm on Saatchi. I've been on Saatchi for a number of years now and have sold some pieces. So, it's not like a rave selling place. And I checked to see if my work comes up in a
Google search.
It doesn't, because there's so many artists
with your name.
No, I mean, you search, you filter, like you want.
Yeah. I know. That's every marketplace. Like,
Yeah, it was just too much.
yeah, I know.
So that was one of the things that struck me in looking at your website. I mean, are you jurying people that are on your
No,
website?
no. We're not a marketplace. Every one of our customers has their own website that they own, and they are responsible for driving the traffic to it, and that's what we teach them to do all year long.
So don't you have, isn't there a website,
Oh yeah.
Art Solutions?
Yes, there is, but it's like you're thinking it's like a marketplace, like a Fine Art America or a Saatchi,
Yeah.
where everyone just lists their stuff. Your website address is not artstorefronts.com. Your website address is KarenEigelhartArt.com.
And then we just, and you sort of run like 5 people a day, or you
No,
change
no,
it?
no, no. We don't run
Right.
any a day, but we teach you how to get people to your website, and we teach you how to market yourself, and we teach you how to buy a business. It's actually a real business
Okay.
and sustainable.
Because I'm into, I've got a good website.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm not doing, which I have to say for anyone out there, is I have not linked my website to a sales option,
Yep, that's a problem. And your
which
website's
is,
probably not equipped to do e-commerce either, is it? Or is it?
no, it is.
It is.
I'm on Squarespace
Mm-hmm.
and I can do it. I just haven't bothered.
I know. I know.
And, I feel like I do so much managing my website. I'm actually doing the Saatchi virtual art fair right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a little learning curve
Yeah.
to set up a virtual booth, but I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of halfway in on a lot of the computer stuff.
That's really, really good. But you probably learned at this point in time, you don't have a website problem. You have a marketing problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm in 3 galleries, so
Mm-hmm.
so it's easy to take the computer piece and just put it in the background, because it's kind of a nuisance to have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a quality of laziness, like, oh, I don't want to be on the computer, blah, blah. I'd rather be in my studio.
Yes. You and every other single solitary artist alive.
That's it,
Yeah.
and yet my work carries through really well on the online.
The biggest problem you have, Karen, is you don't have any idea who's purchasing your work. The gallery is not telling you, and Saatchi's not telling you either.
Saatchi does, because they send you a mailing,
Yeah, but not the email address. Not a way to get in touch with them unless you track down their email, right? They'll give you the shipping
that's
info.
right.
Yep.
That's right, because I wanted to contact someone. All I had was, I didn't make postcards because everything's online now.
Yep. And when you don't have the ability to market to the people that have purchased your work, you don't have the ability to cultivate a collector list, you don't have the ability to make sales just for creating, and you don't have a sustainable business.
Yeah. Whether I've done art fairs and studios and stuff, and I've got a pretty large collection of emails. I've got a 500-person email list.
Wonderful. Love that.
But I contact them
once a year. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, so I highlight that concept of the collector list because I find it to be the number one most important metric determinant of revenue for an artist or photographer's business. And, again, I took it from this book, The Don't Be the Starving Artist. But it's not just having the list, it's the health of a list. The list is like a plant. It's like a plant. If you don't put any water in it and you don't occasionally trim off the dead leaves and keep it happy, then, you're going to have a dead plant. And so, you could have a good business right now, Karen, but the problem is that all of it could shut off in an instant, right?
Yeah.
Saatchi could change something and you're no longer featured, and your gallery could be like, we're moving on, and then you're left with nothing. That's the whole reason why we exist. Unless you are having your own website, you have people coming to your website, you are constantly marketing to your list, then you don't leave with anything. You're gonna leave that gallery, you're gonna leave Saatchi with just the shirt on your back, nothing else. You don't have any asset. You don't have anything of value aside from the work.
Well, the issue is really, I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
That's
why you're here.
As an artist, it's really difficult to make yourself do it.
I know.
So that's where, what are you doing to help that part of it?
Yeah, it's so funny that you say it that way. I've come to find that our primary goal as a business art storefront is to have successful customers, right? And so when you consider that's the problem you're solving, it's like, are you a website company or a marketing company, or you help us run live? No, 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 no. We create successful customers. And so when you laser focus in on that problem, you start to realize things. You start out by realizing that all artists and photographers have a marketing problem. And then you're like, okay, if we just teach them to market, that'll be it. And then you make some more learnings. And the second learning is exactly what you just mentioned. Not only do you need to be taught marketing, but you also need support. And when I say support comes on one end of the scale as technical support to get you unstuck. And then in the middle somewhere, it's the emotional support, because being an artist or a photographer is a solo vocation for most of you guys. You're solopreneurs. You don't have the emotional support when you're down in the depths and you need to be lifted up. And then on the very right end of the scale, it's poking and prodding and harassment.
That's
i.e. Karen, why is your Black Friday sale not in the water? Why did you not send an email last week? And we do a little bit of poking and prodding too. And it's almost like the way that I think about it is like, how do you solve the problem when you want to lose weight, right? We all know it's a combination of diet and exercise. Well, then how do you create successful artists and photographers? It's a combination of marketing and support. I mean, like those are the two, right? Like those are the two levers, and that's how it goes. And we do so much of it now. I can't even begin to tell you. We have all the digital education so you can learn on your own. Great. We have in-person classes 3-4 times a week like this with all of our customers, where everyone gets in there, interacts together. We have sessions, Q&A, all of that. We have a big group that everybody's in together, a Facebook group where everyone's bucking each other up and learning things and talking to each other. And then, there's the whole support side, the video chats, the Zoom calls, all the rest of it. All of it collectively is what it takes. I mean, as cheesy as that saying is, like, it takes a village. It takes a village. It takes a village. When you sign up for us, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the village, in addition to the best website software, in addition to the best marketing education, the village. That's what I'd say. So yes, Karen, we can help you, but you're going to have to email that list, and you're going to have to grow that list, and you're going to have to run sales when the time is right. And you're going to have to start running live art shows, which you've already essentially done with the Saatchi, whatever virtual, whatever that didn't lead to any sales because Saatchi doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, listen, just another like true confessions here. Part of the virtual art fair was to do a little video of yourself talking about your artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my husband hold the phone and I did it. And then it was awkward. So he had to go. I said, thank God. So I put the phone on my tripod, my camera tripod, and managed to prop it up. And I would make a mistake and I'd say, I swear, and damn it,
Yeah. I love that though. That's you, Karen. That's why they're so great, because, there's you don't have hair. You don't have makeup. You don't have a fancy camera. Turns out you have a normal room that looks like all the rest of the normal rooms that we all have in our house. Exactly. But
it was so awkward. So exactly what you said, it was so awkward that I didn't even submit it, even though, it was probably fine and as good as any of the others, but it was just the awkwardness of standing in my studio, talking to myself. It was just this tension.
We get every variety imaginable. And my favorite, this is why running the thirst one is so hard. My favorite is when you look at Instagram is in this alignment of the cell phone, right? So it's this way to film it. When we look at TV screens, it's like this, right? Yeah. So I've had multiple customers run their thirst ones on Instagram, and they have their significant other hold the phone, and they set the phone down on a thing, and instead of going like this, they go like this. So when you look at the art show, it's them holding their pieces like this. So here's my piece. That's right. If you can't laugh at yourself during the whole process, Karen, like how you going to get through it? You gotta be able to laugh at yourself. It's the best.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because sometimes you take a photo of something landscape view with your phone, and then you've got to actually go in and crop it and flip it.
Yes. Karen, I'm going to strongly recommend you go and get a demo. Our demo process is like the 1-hour test drive through. Oh, here we go. Watch. Just look at this comment because it'll make me laugh. I did that and laughed at myself, right? So here's Kuz photography. I did that and laughed at myself. Held the camera sideways. I just love getting through the first one. But you need to go and get a demo. You need to see what we have to offer. We can absolutely, and in fact, we'll contact you. Somebody in my chat told me we'll contact you. You need to.
I have to tell you, your persistence and my email is like, who the hell are these guys? That's
Oh,
why
we're
I'm
annoying. I mean, it borders on harassment, the sheer volume of email that we're
are.
sending. It's terrible. I'm responsible largely for it. This is the marketing department, and I feel like I need to go get help. You know, you definitely do not have to email your email list as much as we email. No one emails as much as we email, but you do need to start taking care of that list.
Except for politicians.
Yeah. Karen, I want you to, one, go and see a demo, and you don't even have to worry. We're going to contact you. But two, I want you thinking about the sale that you're going to have for Black Friday. I want you to get that list into an email service provider. I want you to let that list know that you are alive, that you are still creating, that you haven't talked to them in a while, and that you apologize profusely for that. And you let them know you have a sale coming up on Black Friday. Okay. What you will find, is if you just do that, okay, you will end up getting some sales because these people, they forgot you existed. You haven't contacted them. You haven't sent anything.
Well, I did send out to my whole email list the fact that I was doing this virtual art fair.
Oh, good. So you did email.
And,
okay.
You know, I mean, that's sort of a live thing, but I have to admit too that I've got books of emails from open studios and art fairs that I can't quite, make out the emails.
Oh, that's always the best, isn't it?
Don't submit it, but I could just send an email, say, is this correct? And if it bounces back, I know it's wrong.
Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right. Okay, we're gonna contact you to get a demo. Don't worry. We're gonna get you on the path, Karen. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, right. I just figured you're moving on to.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. Amazing. All right, Ruben's going to be up next, and then Benny, I'll pull you in. Juan's answering your questions in the chat, but I'll pull you in. Ruben, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. So I guess I just have a quick question about the marketing. So I'm a real estate photographer with about 5 or 6 years of experience.
Okay.
So it's basically just straight commercial shoots.
Mm-hmm. Are they buildings or houses?
Content. Houses, homes mostly, and some are rental properties, so they're commercial properties as well, multi-unit.
Do you cheat and do the HDR, or you put it on a tripod, doing all the different f-stops, and then doing the view out the windows in Photoshop?
A little depends on what the client wants, really. Everybody gets something different if they're looking for it. I've also done a lot of assisting with architectural photographers as well, so some higher end stuff as well.
Cool.
Nothing under my name exactly, but assisting.
Okay.
And I guess my question is, considering that I have a real estate photography business and not really a straightforward art selling product, how would you assist photographers like myself that are more on the commercial side of things, and really don't have a list of previous clients that I can reach out to.
But you do. Every single solitary realtor you've ever worked with. But we don't need it. We can stop there. What is the nature of the work that you're trying to sell? Is it the real estate photos? Are you trying to sell your art as a fine art, or are you trying to just grow the service-based business?
Well, I mean, it would probably be two-pronged when it comes to the approach that I'd be looking at. I'd be looking to tap into some fine art stuff that I don't have going yet, and also to build up and continue to build the real estate side of the business as well, because that's what pays the bills.
100%. And like I love the service-based photogs in contrast to the artist, because most of the time for the artist, they have to go and get another job, right? Or they have another job. For you, your two silos are right there, right? And what would be amazing for you if you ended up signing up and going through the whole thing is you would learn a bunch of marketing and merchandising that you would end up leveraging in the real estate business. And also, when you're working with the realtors all the time and you have a decent portfolio, you get the word out there that your work is available anytime somebody wants to stage a house, right? And so you say, like, look, if you need to stage this place and you want to put my work on the walls, you put my work on the walls. And you'd be surprised how many times the buyer will come in and say, I want all the work on the walls included. And do you realize what happens during that transaction? They're able to put the price of the work into the 30-year mortgage. That happens on a regular basis with furniture, and that happens on a regular basis with the artwork. And so, my point in bringing that up, independent of everything that we know how to make your your fine art print business start growing, don't underestimate the power of when you start looking at the service portion of your business seriously, right? And constantly having prints to show off and letting all those folks know that you've got fine art to sell, because all those realtors and everyone that's working with you in the real estate side of things, they know, like, and trust you. They just don't have any damn idea that you have anything else for sale because you haven't started, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time, dude. Trust me. I know we can help you. Like, I get so infuriated. Like, the other side of things are service-based photographers that working just like you, that are essentially just trading dollars for hours. That's all you're doing. You're trading dollars for hours. You're going to reach a certain point where you can't get any more gigs, and you're not going to make any more money because there's only so many hours in a day that you have, right? So your only option at that point in time is to get a higher AOV, average order value, which means instead of charging $1,000 a house, you're charging $1,500 a house. That hits a ceiling too, right? So you have to start cultivating this other revenue source in your business. And the beautiful thing is you can still be shooting houses for the next 10 years while you consistently grow the print revenue. And the goal is that you wake up sometime in your 40s and you're like, boom, now I've got this thing humming, right? And I have like 70, 80, 90, $100,000 worth of income coming in on this alone. And it allows you to figure out if you still want to go running around shooting houses. So that's a beautiful part about it. But the marketing would certainly benefit both businesses without question.
Fantastic. Thanks.
And by the way, you should have the 5 main media types in your car with you at all times. You should have your work in your car with you at all times. You should start pushing the staging starting tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow. Like, I can guarantee, because I already know I talk to hundreds of you guys on a week in, week out basis. So I'm making assumptions, right? You don't have your work on fine art paper, on canvas, on metal, on acrylic or wood. You don't have the ability to show that off. Even if you do have images that you love, you don't have any of that going on, right? What's going to happen? What's going to happen when you go from, and hold on, I got to get my stack here. Okay, hold on. I'm missing one of them, and I think my kids did something. But what happens when you have every gig you go to, right? You have the 5 main media types, and you can articulate them. I have a green screen behind me, so some of these things are going to look a little circusy, okay? But you have a fine art paper framed, what that looks like, what's ready to go. You have a canvas print, fact that these things can hang on the wall, what it looks like edge to edge, the fact that it's ready to hang and doesn't need a frame. You have a metal print, the newest, sexiest kid on the block, right? Ready to hang, can go on the wall, can go anywhere. Then you have an acrylic print, right? And you can show acrylic off and what acrylic looks like. Nobody knows. No normal people know what these things look like, period. And all of a sudden, you can go from... I had a wood print somewhere. I don't know where the hell it went. All of a sudden... And the wood print. Sorry, I have small children. And the wood prints are cool. Like, people really dig these things, and there's, like, thick wood on... Anyway. All of a sudden, you go from Ruben, the photo guy, to Ruben, the photo guy, who's also an expert in the printing department, right? And what you might find out once you start doing that, Ruben, is that all of a sudden, all of these realtors really do want to sex up their houses, right? And all of a sudden, not only do they want to sex up their houses, they want art that's ready to go. And maybe you start out with some of it being your work, and then some of it not even being your work. And then all of a sudden, instead of just charging $1,000 to shoot a house, you're charging $1,000 to shoot a house and another $750 to stage it. And that's just another part of your business. And then your average order value, because some gigs you're charging $1,000 for the shooting, and some gigs you're charging $1,750 for the shooting, is all of a sudden now up to $1,250 per house. So you're making an extra $250 per house on aggregate as a result of you just adding those services and understanding merchandising, right? So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat is the point, but you need to start cultivating additional revenue sources in the business. So yeah, we can help you. You should get a demo too.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. What part of town are you in, just out of curiosity? Where do you live?
I'm in Chicago.
You're in Chicago. Nice. Yeah. That makes it really, really hard to shoot. Small spots. Unless you're in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of small apartments. Beautiful neighborhoods though. So
beautiful damn neighborhoods. Number 2 guy on my marketing team lives there. He's all fired up about that new elevated train expansion they're making, so he doesn't have to stop. He gave this presentation. Anyway, beside the point. There's a lot of people too, just as a final, that really, really dig some of those Chicago iconic suburban houses, right? And there's a lot of those people that really, really dig, the photo of the house in the right season, and that being a housewarming gift, right? So, as an addition, I'm giving away all my tricks because I don't care. No one ever takes my advice. You get the tripod out front. It's the right day. It's a fall. It's a winter. It's snow. Whatever it is, you crack a shot of the house, and you tell the realtor, like, look, as a sweetener, okay, if they want to buy this thing, throw it in on the deal, right? And maybe you could even just use that for lead gen. But, you know, there's a lot of people that love to get either a painting or a photo of the houses, and especially once you get onto those suburbs, some of those super iconic, like walk up Chicago houses. So, look, these are the types of things.
Thanks. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Okay. Who is asking me? Oh, Benny's there. Benny, I'm going to unmute you. Benny, you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Good. So you're asking all the typical questions that a beginner would ask on a live art show, and
Complete amateur on this side of the.
No, Benny, no worries. Everybody is. Almost no one has done this, and so sort of the analogy I give is once, like, we as humans, we fall victim to paradigms, right? And what do I mean by that? The minute we say art show, despite the fact it's a live art show, our minds instantaneously go into like what an art show is, which is renting a space or getting into a gallery and having to send invitations, and it's, you know, the velvet ropes and setting up the tables, and it stresses you out, right? It's so far from that. It is so easy to do. It's sort of like riding a bike, right? Like if I was teaching you to ride a bike, I'd be like, Benny, grab the bike. We're going out in the street. You're going to sit on the bike. I'm going to push you, and we'll see how you go. That's it, right? You don't have to think about anything more, jumping on the bike and going. And what does everyone do instead? Well, what's the best time to ride a bike? And what's the best street to ride a bike on? And what kind of bike do I need? And do I need to put playing cards in the spokes? No. We are going out on the street, jumping on the bike, and seeing how it goes. Anytime is great, right? And so, too, for a live art show. You could grab your cell phone today, go live on whatever platform you have the most following on, hold up one piece and be like, I just released this piece. I really like the way that it looks on wood. I'm doing a flash sale for the next 24 hours on this one piece. Here it is. Here's my inspiration. Sorry, it's like everything's backwards on my thing. Here's what it is. Here's my inspiration. It's awesome. I normally charge $300 for these things. I'm charging $150. Deal expires in 24 hours. Shut up. Turn the camera off. Your live art show's done. That quick. So it doesn't matter if you do that. If you do 6 or 7 pieces, it doesn't matter what time of day. It doesn't matter if no one's tuning in except your mother, okay? Because you're going to email it to everyone that you know after the fact, and it's going to stay posted on your social sites and other things like that. So don't overthink it and just do it immediately. And I'm going to send you a guide. April, will you put the guide in the chat? I don't know if I have the guide up. I have so many tabs open sometimes that I just lose my mind. But I have a guide, a quick start guide to running live art shows, and I will send it to you. And I think April will find it and put it in the chat, or we'll send it to you after the fact. But that's what I would say.
Thanks.
Are you going to do one this weekend, though, Benny?
Don't know. Maybe.
How can I incentivize you to run one, Benny, this weekend?
You know, it's the typical thing that a lot of artists struggle with, right? Am I good enough? Right? And you're saying you're good enough. Just go get on the freaking bike and do it.
Exactly right. And I want you to run one this weekend. And how can I incentivize you? I'm going to send you the guide. You already know the nuts and bolts of it. And if you have originals, you can attempt to sell the originals. But I want you to run one this weekend. By Sunday is your deadline.
All right. I'll send you an email. You'll respond to it. We'll do that.
Okay.
I've got your email in front of me.
Okay. I'm going to hold you. So look, Emily's on board too. I'm going to hold both of you guys accountable now. There it is. There's the guide. It's in the chat. I'm going to walk you through the entire thing. Demystifies the entire thing. I'm looking for that email, Benny.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Deal. Okay. Was that it in terms of questions?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, cool. All right, and you are up next. Go ahead, Ann.
There we go. I was muted. Sorry.
Yep, all good.
I wanted to ask, okay, so I'm completely at the very beginning level, just starting to get some paintings together.
Okay.
And I have no customers.
Yes.
What do you suggest for somebody like me who is just dying to do this?
Yep. So you're in a little bit of a different spot than the majority of the people that are on this call. But it sounds like maybe Benny's in that spot too. You know, I started the thing out by saying 100% of the people on this call have a marketing problem, right? And it's true, but you can't really have the marketing problem until you validate that the art will sell. And what does that mean? You need to sell that work to people, not named Dan, mom, dad, brother, sister, family, friends, okay? Because they will buy things from you. They will lie down in traffic or do anything for you, right? So you have to sell the work to strangers, and you have to sell the work to strangers to make sure that you have a product the market wants. Because if you go and take a product that the market doesn't want and you spend a bunch of time, energy, and effort on the website and marketing and the product won't sell, you're in trouble, right? Now, early on, and certainly in pre-COVID times, and we're pretty much post-COVID now, I mean, for the most part. I mean, God forbid something happens this winter. But the easiest way to do it is a booth at a local show. It can be a farmer's market, the church parking lot, a swap meet, a local art show, wherever you can get. And you put your work on a table, and you set up, and you sit in the booth 3 hours a day, and you have a bunch of conversations, and if you see the work will sell. And early on, you don't know. And not only do you not know, no one can tell you, okay? Everyone tells me my work is great, Patrick. Great. I'm going to drive down to the ATM with you, and you show me the button on the ATM machine that says everything that says my work is great. It doesn't exist, right? There's no button on the ATM machine for likes. There's no button on the ATM machine for comments. There's no button on the ATM machine for shares, or my work was in a juried show, or everyone tells me I should start a business, right? The only button on the ATM machine is the one that spits out cash that you've earned as a result of selling the work, right? So we get that in our head, and we know that you have to sell it to strangers, not mom, dad, brother, family. So the shortest way to do that is in person. The next shortest way, and especially this is COVID times, is that concept of a live art show, right? Now, we have a guide. It's now in the chat. It's called the Art Validation Strategy. And so April put that in there. I would follow that. And then I would also say, like, we're human beings, right? We are all of us human beings, and we all are subject to the same frailties. And especially when it comes to artists, okay? And Benny made mention of this a little bit earlier. The self-doubt thing creeps in. And so what ends up happening early on is any combination of things. Some people, for the first time, try to sell their art, and their art goes absolutely fantastic, and it sells well. And it's like, okay, you validated you have a product the market wants. All you have to do now is start working on your marketing problem, okay? And then some people will sell okay, but not great, but end up getting commissions. And then they paint the commission, and then, or they photograph the commission, and then the person is like, this is amazing. Now my friend wants one. And all of a sudden they realize whatever they were trying before was the wrong direction, and they figure out a new direction. Some will fall utterly, totally, and completely flat on their face, right? The problem is that we are humans, and we don't respond well to criticism, right? We don't respond well to failure. We have these notions of self-doubt. And so, you know, a lot of times we will work really hard on our craft and create this thing, and then go and try and sell it, and then realize nobody wants it, and it'll just destroy us. It'll cripple us, and we will get into a position where my mom and dad were right. This is always just a hobby. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. You'll question your self-worth. You'll question whether or not you're good enough. You'll be like, art just doesn't sell in today's day and age. You look for someone else to blame. All of that is normal, okay? All of that is completely normal. And the most important thing is to retain the mindset that early on, the whole thing is just a formula, okay? It's just a formula. What everyone likes to do is just create whatever inspires them and whatever makes them happy, and that's fantastic. But if you take that to market and it doesn't sell, you have a decision to make. Am I trying to make a business out of this, or do I want to have a hobby? If you want to have a hobby, that's all good, right? It's a hobby. It's always going to be there for creative release, and it's fantastic. But if you want a business out of it, sometimes you have to create what the market wants. And, you know, one of the things that infuriates me about the education all of you guys have gotten in art school or photography school is they don't ever tell you about the greats that made it. And one of the stats that I love is that Pablo Picasso, when he died, in his inventory, a man at the tail end of his life that could have sold a used piece of Kleenex with his signature on it for $1 million, he had 45,000 unsold works in his inventory when he died. 45,000. And you look at that and you realize that even a guy as famous, as incredible as him, do you know how many times he fired an arrow and missed? Do you think he quit and just hung his brush up and said, I'm not going to do this? No, he just kept shooting and shooting and shooting. And every once in a while he'd hit a bullseye. And those would be his biggest series and his biggest peace times. And so the encouragement is that, you know, don't let the self-doubt get in there and plague you, you know, tell you that you're not good enough. A lot of times what you constantly have to be doing is listening to the feedback the market will give you and pivoting and trying new things and finding a direction that works. And that's a huge part of being a successful artist too. I feel like that was a really long-winded answer, but I get fired up about that one. You muted again, Ann. Because
There we go.
Yeah. Nope. You muted, unmuted. You'll have to hit it again one more time. Gotcha.
Okay, good. Yeah, my dog was barking, so I had to mute it. Thank you very much. No, that was a great answer.
Okay, good.
Because I'm really not sure how, if anything will sell, but I just love doing the painting. But 45,000, I did not know that.
I know.
That's incredible.
I know. And that's the thing that infuriates me. Like, why the hell aren't they teaching that in art school, right? Like, they teach you all these wonderful things about all the periods and all the greats and all the, the trials and tribulations and the different styles and everything else. And they don't ever teach you how to actually make a damn business out of your talent. That part infuriates me, but that's also, I suppose, at the end of the day, why we exist. So there you go. Created an opportunity.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Karen, I see your hands up, but someone else has a question. Aid Galarza, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. What is the question? How do you start a collector's list if you want to take that first step? Great question. In the beginning, we fake it until we make it, right? If you're out on the street busking, playing guitar, if you're working in a coffee shop and you have a tip jar and no one's put any money in there, when no one's looking, sometimes you put a couple of dollars in there yourself just to let people know that's how you get things started. So early on, the fake it till make it is you put all of your friends and family on an email list, you call them your collector list, and you treat them like they're collectors. And then you start getting sales, and then those are your collectors. And then you start getting multiple sales, and those are your VIP collectors. And it just takes time. You don't just get one of those lists right out of the gates. It takes time, and it's sort of a grind to get there. Okay, Karen, you're up next.
I just wanted to totally confirm what you were saying.
Which one?
Is that about to Anne?
Mm-hmm.
You have to really work a lot. You got to produce a lot of artwork.
Yeah.
And throw it away and make more. Paint over, like, I work in oil and don't use varnish. I can always paint over canvases, change the paintings, but you got to just keep producing a ton of work.
Absolutely.
And then you hone your own sense of discriminating vision of what you like. And I think if you like what you're doing, it'll come across. But if you're just doing it to sell, it's just going to peter out. So the more you work, the more connected you become to your work, and the more
yeah, it's like that age-old like battle between like, selling out versus not selling out, and like a band like goes and gets a record deal. I sort of look at it in a different way, in the sense that, at the end of the day, you have to make the distinction between it being a hobby and it being a business. If it's a business, you have to create products that the market wants, right? And so I think it's just such an incredible thing when you can leverage your talent into something the market actually wants. And the thing that everyone does is they just keep creating in a vacuum. They don't ever go figure out what the market wants, and they don't ever actually get the feedback. And they're shortchanging themselves so much, right? Because you're not going to know until you go and get the actual feedback, until you actually try and sell it, and then it all becomes clear. And what an incredible, like, to be an artist, to support yourself as an artist or a photographer is absolutely amazing. What an incredible thing to create these things that are so beautiful that people want to purchase. And the only way you get there is you have to have some business sense along the way. It's not going to happen automatically. Like the numbers, it is probably probably 5 out of 100,000 that start out just creating whatever the hell they want. That's it. And it just works right out of the gates. Like, that's not the way it normally works for most people. You have to try some different things to figure out what works best for the market. Anyway, what else, Karen? I felt like that was some sage advice. I liked it.
That's it's interesting. I don't know. No one else is talking, so I figure.
I know. Well, sometimes there's a bunch of brave people, and sometimes a lot of people just like to listen. But
they're listening.
Yeah.
So it's sort of interesting that came up, because there are certain paintings that I do are water and sky, and I have really got clouds and sky down.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested in doing abstract work.
Yeah.
And so I keep, and so I balance the two. But I don't want to get trapped in just doing
one thing. Yeah.
I want to just keep pushing myself into different directions. But then every time I go off in a direction, I can come back and I have a little bit more, depth to what I'm doing that works well.
Yeah.
The skies or whatever, I'm just simplifying it. And I also do photography. So I was interested in when you were talking about photography because it really is hard to sell. And
No, it's no different to sell. It's no different to sell than the regular art. And the beautiful thing is too is that like everyone thinks that they need to have a niche, right? And they need to stick to the niche, and they can only do their niche, and that is the biggest bunch of BS that's ever been sold. You know, you are a part of the brand as much as the work is a part of the brand, right? And you can put whatever you want up there.
Well, and the photography is abstract photography, and it works with the paintings that I'm doing. So they play back and forth.
100%.
They feed each other. And I've got one gallery that's really interested in photography and two others that are doing the paintings. But what I just want to say to people that are starting off is don't be too enthralled with what you've done. Push yourself and be critical, because as your work gets better, it's going to sell more easily.
Yep.
So if you get this thing of, oh, I'm so great, look at what I just did. It's, you know, and your husband or your wife or your parents love it. That's nice, but it's kind of meaningless. You know, you really got to be self-critical, but that pushes your ability to sell.
Oh, it does. It does for sure.
Basically to compete, because it's an incredibly competitive market out there.
Awesome. Love it, Karen. Good advice. We'll come back if you raise your hand again. All right, Emily, I'm going to get you because you asked a good follow-up, and you can unmute, Emily, if you want to come on.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah. So Emily asked, what about knowing your audience? My contention is not that you not knowing your audience is not important. My contention is that you don't know your audience because you haven't done any marketing. You haven't gotten it in front of enough eyeballs yet. You don't know if your audience is your one particular style or it's a style that's going to be 500 times the size of your current style. And you just haven't figured it out yet because you haven't gotten the feedback. So the feedback comes after the consistent marketing. That's why everyone has a marketing problem. And you put some work out there, you put some different styles out there, and you look at the numbers. And for some people, they have a style, and that's what people want them to do. And, you know, you could say 80, 90% of their revenue comes from 20% of their work. Okay, at that point in time, you can get rid of the other, well, let's just say it's 10 pieces, right? And 2 pieces are one style, and the 8 pieces are another style. If 80, 90% of your revenue is coming from the 2 pieces of that particular style, then maybe that's what your audience is telling you. You got to do this, and that's what you're doing, right? But I've seen so many different, they're called pivots in business startup parlance. And you try one thing, and then you try another thing, and then you try another thing. And some of the most successful customers we have are the ones that have pivoted the most, right? The ones that have pivoted the most. And I use these examples all the time. And here's one of like a drastic pivot, okay? Landscape photographer, and centered around like the Twin Cities area, okay, that part of our country, would go out and do like long exposure nighttime shots of the bridges, sometimes day shots of the bridges and like infrastructure stuff. Had a decent little business going on. Turns out, guy also has a passion for going into a certain theme park that might or not be themed around a mouse, okay? And he would go into the theme park, perhaps not themed around a mouse, set the camera up with the tripod, and take these beautiful long exposure shots of the rise, right? Now, that is a drastic departure from what he was doing. Well, I mean, it's still, you know, landscape shots, but a pretty drastic departure, right? 80% of his business now are photos of inside that park. 80% of his business, and he is killing it, right? So there's an example of a pretty drastic pivot, right? And I see it time and time again. And you know, he found out that he had a bigger audience for the one thing than he did for the other thing, right? And he never would have known if he didn't try it and put it up. So that's sort of how it ends up going. So your audience will tell you, but you haven't done enough to get it in front of them. That's my contention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. All right, I'll go Marjorie and then DI. Go ahead, Marjorie.
Hey there.
Hey.
Let me start the video. I appreciate your advice about understanding the market. I remember being heartbroken when my dad said, "You mean I'm paying for you to go to college? You thought I was paying for you to go to college for you to do what you like?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's for you to learn a marketable skill. You know, get a marketable skill first, and then and then do what you like." So yeah, it's tough to sort of embrace that, but I went into technology instead of art, and made a good career out of it. But now that technology winding down, I've learned a lot about business, and would like to pursue arts now. So my challenge is that now I'm at a point where I have established an LLC. Okay, and the way that art has been delivered is not as I would have expected, but it's sort of a combination of me, my honey, and my mom. Okay, you got my mom who likes to paint and do reprints, and honey, who is a framer and builder and likes to do custom furniture. And I like to do both. I like to do paint, and I like to do some stuff on wood that may or may not involve paint, but all of it is art in a form. And we created Vacation Home that just recently launched, and it was fun because everybody got to use a bit of their talent to produce something beautiful. But it's not easy to scale that. I mean, it takes a lot to, buy a home and then turn it into a showpiece that people would want a vacation there. So we decided we wanted to, combine efforts to pursue some sort of storefront that would be online, a gallery, but you actually have different audiences here. If someone wants to buy a custom bookshelf or a custom table or writing desk or whatever it is, then we have the guy that's going to do that for you.
Yep.
If you want if you want a painting of a floral landscape, mom's going to do that for you. She's got a degree from William and Mary in art. She's beautiful at it. And then, I mean, I don't know, my art would be a little bit different, but I got a big collection. Just haven't really sold as much. It's just been an occasional commission piece on the side. So for a situation like that, where you really, the person who wants to buy a custom table is probably going to be somebody in Blue Ridge, Georgia, like that appreciates the unique wood that we get from up there. And so you got that audience, not necessarily the same as someone that may come to me and want to commission me for a portrait that's a boudoir portrait or something like that. So different audiences, but basically you got the same source, which is my LLC, representing the three of us. And jewelry is the fourth one, like custom jewelry is the fourth one. So with that diverse set of products and mediums used to create art, what would you advise? I mean, how do you do that? Can you do that under a single identity?
You can 100% do it under a single identity. I mean, it's no different. Like, despite the fact it's an online venture primarily, it's no different than walking into a store. Like, all of us walk into stores every single solitary day, and there's some products for us and there's some products for other people, right? That we would never be interested in, but they're still attracting a whole bunch of different people to the store for these various different reasons, right? So, as long as you had a cohesive brand and, everyone was comfortable with whoever's doing the marketing and not doing the marketing and the revenue splits and all of that, then, it's no different than opening an online gallery. Like, there's different products in a gallery, right? There's certain pieces of work, and there might be some sculptures and various other different things that speak to different demos. So I think you're overthinking it.
And that's very possible. But the way that you designed the site, could you design it in such a way
it's just a gallery
to have like 3 or 4 brands under one umbrella?
Yeah, all day long. And we have customers that sell like such a different and diverse range of things, right? There's everything from the art, the wall art in every capacity, originals, commissions, prints, embellished prints, and then there's everything from merch of like 15 different categories, right? Everything from pillows to iPhone cases to puzzles to magnets to calendars to tote bags to Christmas ornaments to yoga mats. We have people that are selling classes, whether it's online classes, learning how to paint this, that, or the other, or in-person classes where they'll take you into a national park and show you how to shoot long exposure photography. We have people selling books, right, of various different stripes and capacities. So all of that is possible. The site is geared to sell wall art, but it's also just an e-commerce store at the end of the day. So you can put any item in there you like, right? So that's what I would say.
Okay. And how would you partition it by different brands? I can have 4 brand identities under one site.
It would just be like galleries. Like, you know, say you're a wildlife photographer shooting ducks, eagles, hawks, and geese, right? You'd have a gallery of geese, you'd have a gallery of ducks, you'd have a gallery of hawks, and you have a gallery of whatever I said the other one was. So, you know,
okay,
it's that simple.
And then you answered it. So I could have one for furniture, one for jewelry,
Exactly.
one for paintings and prints, and one for whatever else.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's no different than the real world example, right? Like you could have all of that in a gallery and it would totally be fine. And it would all dovetail well together because you've got some furniture, you've got some jewelry for the little spots here and there, you've got some wall art, right? Like it's no different. It's just the online version thereof. Looks very peaceful in the background, by the way, wherever you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks. DA, you are up next. Go ahead, DA.
Am I unmuted yet?
You surely are.
Okay. I have 2 things. First of all, I'd like to comment on something said to the brand new artist who wants to start out. Yes, you do need to get in front of public, but don't just count on a couple of shows. I just started showing last summer. I do cold working glass pendants and sculpture. Okay. And I was in 3 different shows in different locations outside of Chicago, Illinois. And in one show, a jewelry artist sold a tremendous amount. And I was right next to her in another show, and she only sold a $42 pair of earrings all day, Saturday and Sunday. So you never know what audience is going to appear that show for various reasons. So don't give up after your first couple shows thinking I'm not doing what the market might like, because maybe you just haven't found the market yet who likes your product. But secondly,
that's such a good point. That's such a good point, by the way. And just to second that, like, you know, we have the subsect of customers that are quite literally on the show and their circuit. It's like sort of crazy. They're like a traveling like band of gypsies almost. Like they're not gypsies, but they all know each other. They all go to these various different shows, and there's like the big ones that are all over the US and they travel. And even those guys at that level routinely tell you like some shows are just dogs. It's nothing. It wasn't anything about you. It's just the way that things work out. And so it's sort of like, you know, you have to have a diversified portfolio, right? You have to have like a number of different shows that you go to before you actually get statistical significance on the work. So I feel like that is such sage advice, DA, and that plays out with like so many of our customers in so many instances. It's crazy.
I'm not really into this yet enough to give advice, so I just wanted to make that a comment.
No, but it was really sage advice, whether you know it or not. Yeah, it's great.
Pretty much a newbie myself. I just started showing last summer due to COVID. I mean, I only started producing art 2 years ago, and so last summer was my first opportunity to obtain feedback, and that's mainly what I did. I went to diverse shows to get feedback, so I would know what to continue doing and what to stop. And I did get that information, and I'm ever so grateful that I have that information. It gave me a direction to go in. And I'm expanding now from what I started out was just layered glass pendants into sculpture. So I'm taking the technique and going big with it. So I'm going to start trying to get into shows where I can show my sculpture. And it's a part of the process is the juries. You get different audiences based on different size shows. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to jury into some pretty major shows, thank heavens, because that gives you more of a diverse population walking through than some of the smaller shows do. So now I have a direction and I know where to go. I'm not selling well online at all. I'm on an art show production company's website. And then I'm also on another one through FAZO, which is a fine art kind of a thing where it's all artists. I don't even sell on that one. I only have that one because juries, believe it or not, will go back and look at your website. And I always know that because they publish the dates the juror sits, and then I go and I look at the hits on my website. Sure enough, the jury went to my website. So for that reason, I maintain that non-selling website. it seems necessary for some of these big shows, oddly enough. But now I want to be able to, I will travel again next year, but then I want to stay home and sell online. And I tried to collect emails, but like people were still hesitant to pick up things and touch things. I don't know if it was COVID related or what. So people didn't want to sign a guest book and give me their email addresses. Square collected some for me, but not all that many. So I really don't even have an email list to start out with.
Yep.
My other problem is photographing what I do. I've hired very, very outstanding professional photographers, 4 in total so far. And while the picture looks good, it doesn't show what's really there because I use so many layers of glass. When you look at a piece, if you just move a smidgen,
What part
different.
of the country did you say you live in? Chicago? Is that where you live?
No, I'm in Texas.
Oh, you're in Texas. Okay. So one
Yes.
of my best friends from college is a professional jewelry photographer, and he lives in Long Island, and he goes to work in Manhattan, and he is a Persian Jewish guy, and there is an entire syndicate of Persian jewelers there, and he's routinely shot pieces in the many millions of dollars down to the very cheap sizes and everything in between. And the science of lighting and doing glass is no easy task. So what I would do, if you're serious about getting the work photographed, set up a call with him and see if there's anyone that he knows that's close to you, number one. If not, you can send him a piece. He will photograph it, send it back to you, and you'll see what the difference is when someone's actually really, really good at it. There's like a mega science to how they do glass pieces. Mega science to how that's done.
Well, I'm definitely interested in at least sending up a piece and seeing what he can do with it, because I still have a piece that 4 other people have worked on and they can't represent.
Yeah, it's
what
all in the retouching. It's all in the retouching. It's like a composition. It ends up being a composition. I mean, so you figure, when he's doing like the crazy stones with all the various different facets, like, it ends up looking like crazy. But there's so many different photographs that you need to do so you don't get the reflections and everything else. But I can help you with that. In terms of the shows, how you get more ROI out of the shows, as an FYI, it's a part of one of the things that we teach. But you have a booth. Okay, fantastic. In the booth, you need to be giving something away. The price for being able to win the thing that you're going to be giving away is putting their name and email on a clipboard. You need to be having QR codes on the various different pieces so they can scan the QR codes if you're talking to someone else and get directed to your website. After the show ends, well, actually during the show too, because you have everything set up and it looks great, you have to run a live art show inside the booth. Hey, everybody, I'm down at such and such fair. I know most of you guys can't make it here, and I'm having some special sales, so I wanted to run this live art show inside the booth to give everybody an opportunity that can't make it down here today to participate. And then afterwards, you take all of the emails that you would have captured because you were giving the thing away. You're going to have to figure out what the thing is because I don't know what your product line looks like.
Right.
You say,
okay.
Hey, everybody, thank you so much for entering. Our winner is such and such from someplace. And for everyone else, I'm so sorry you didn't win. I don't ever win anything either. Just to celebrate you guys entering the contest, I'm going to give you 50% off store-wide for the next 48 hours or whatever percentage you want to give. And that's how you do it every single solitary time. And what you find when you do that is you take the ROI out of a show, oftentimes from being a negative situation into a positive situation. And especially considering the fact that most of our artists will go to shows, even on the ones where the attendance is not that good, and bank 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or sometimes up to 500 emails. Okay. You take those emails, and the next thing you know, you're actually working on your marketing on a regular and consistent basis. So you're emailing those emails multiple times a year. You're sharing your latest and greatest stuff. You're romancing them such that they're getting to know you. Then when the time is right, you're having a sale. And oftentimes, when you have the right lens, being you might lose money going to a show. By which I mean, by the time the show is over and you look at all your expenses, you are in the red. You are negative, okay? But marketers understand that with consistent marketing stretched out over time, you can actually afford to lose money on the show knowing that you're going to market consistently, knowing that some shows you're going to lose a little money on in the beginning, and some shows are going to be home runs, but on balance, you're going to come out okay. And then oftentimes what happens as a result of consistent marketing, DA, is you are going to go to a show next weekend and you're going to get 50 emails. And the show, you're going to end up losing all in after your hotel, traveling there, booth fees, everything else. You're down $1,000, and that sucks. But you're going to be marketing consistently. In year one, you might take the $1,000 loss because you're marketing consistently and because you're having sales. You might take that $1,000 loss down to $500 because you brought in $500 worth of revenue as a result of the emails that you captured at that show. But then you're stretching it out over time. And then what ends up happening, because this is how art sells in the real world, is year 3 or year 4 or year 5, someone on that list is going to buy a $25,000 original from you. And all of a sudden you're going to sit there and look at that and go, so really, what was the ROI of that show? It was now like $28,500. Now, it took me 5 years to capture it, but that's how it goes. Now consider year in, year out, 10, 15, 20 shows, plus the consistent marketing. That's how a business is built. But no one ever tells you that you can lose money at these things in the short term if you're marketing consistently. The sharpest marketers know they can spend money on ads that others can't because they will lose money directly on the purchase on those ads or not purchase. But because they're marketing consistently, the business will end up coming in down the train. So that is the playbook I recommend you run.
Okay, that's really good. And that's what I need to hear. I need to learn technically. I'm not.
Everyone does.
I mean, I can barely use my iPhone. Okay. So I have a show this weekend. It would be ideal if I could do one of those live things. I have no clue how to go about it.
Yes, I know. The guide is going to be in the chat. I'm sending it to you. No one does. No one has any idea how to do it. That's the whole point. Everyone's like, just getting started on these. But I'm going to send you the guide, DA, and you just follow it.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Good questions. Okay, what else? In German, what's up? I just saw that you're in here. Stoked you made on it. Did I just mute myself? I don't know. Yep. I saw German was emailing me. I couldn't get in a session. It's always nice to see people get into a session. It's sort of amazing how everyone can figure out Zoom in today's day and age. Like occupational hazard or life hazard, right? Like understanding Zoom. It's funny. I was reading this article this morning about Airbnb, and Airbnb is like, where you go and you rent a house anywhere, and they're individuals' houses. And Airbnb's newest feature is that it allows you to run, and you'll appreciate this one, Juan. Airbnb allows you to run an internet speed test on the connection for the house that you're renting before you rent it. And so he said, the title of the article was that travel is forever being changed. And the other interesting thing that he said was like the two biggest areas of growth in the Airbnb business are now Tuesday and Wednesday rentals. Okay, Tuesday and Wednesday rentals and long-term rentals. Meaning because the majority of us don't have to go into an office anymore and can work from anywhere anymore. And then the third thing that he said, and that all of us know how to Zoom, and that's never going to change, and everyone's going to keep Zooming. But he's right. Like everyone's figured out how to Zoom, right? Like I forget what her name was. Is it Karen? Yeah, Karen up top was like, I'm a bit of a Zoom expert, right? Like completely changing the game. It's why all of you guys can be leveraging Zoom calls with prospective buyers and showing off your work and seeing a much greater ROI out of it. So, all right. Good session today. Totally enjoyed that. Without any more questions, I think we'll leave it there. I'll say as a final, guys, November is the single solitary biggest art selling time of the entire year. It always has been. It likely always will be. It's based in large part on the fact that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and pre-holiday sales. So if there was ever a time that you are going to do some marketing and attempt to sell your art, whether you sign up with us or not, this is the month. November is the month. No bigger art selling month, period. Not even close. It's the biggest by some stretch. The next biggest is October. The third biggest is December. And that pretty much goes year in, year out. Collectively, the Q4, the last 3 months of the year, are the biggest by far. So you're running out of time. You still have a little bit of time to potentially get signed up and get going. If you don't have that, if you're not interested, if we're not the right fit for you right now, at least do something different this year. By which I mean, don't let this entire holiday buying period from now till Christmas without doing some marketing and at least running some sales. 99% of artists and photographers do not run any sales. They let this busy holiday time come and go. Trust me, I get it. Family, travel, Christmas parties, ugly sweater parties, buying gifts, the holiday rush. But it is also the single solitary best time as an artist, as a photographer, to attempt to be selling your stuff. So that's what I would say. There's links for everything else. If this is the first time you've heard about us, fantastic. We're not going anywhere. Don't worry about it. If you feel like, okay, I've seen a couple of things. These people seem to know what they're talking about. I think they can help me. Strongly encourage you to get a demo. The demo is just a 1-hour test drive on a Zoom session. They show you all the bells and whistles and inside and outside, behind the curtain, all the pricing, all the everything. And yeah, I recommend you do that. And then you decide whether or not we're the right fit for you guys or not. I want all of you to run a sale. Benny said he's going to send me an email. I will be posting Benny's live art show. I'm just kidding, Benny, but you are running that live art show. I'm going to follow up on you. But thank you guys. Great questions today. Appreciate all of your time. Appreciate all of your attention. As a final, I think you should subscribe to the podcast and or subscribe to us on YouTube. I'll put the link tree in the chat. It's really, really easy, or April will do that, where you can find all our various different things and videos and all the rest, because we put out a ton of amazing content relentlessly that teaches you how to do all of these things that are so important for you to be doing. So I think on that note, we will leave it there. Appreciate you guys all, and hope you have a great rest of your week.